Hi, I'm Rachel Whitefield, certified life coach, and with me is our resident housewife hottie, Jaki Black. Thank you for joining us for another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent and
Spellbound with Black.
Whitefield.
Yay.
Oh,
What?
Jaki. Oh, what are we drinking today?
Bulleit.
Bulleit. We have our Bulleit
Bulleit.
Bourbon Fronteir whiskey, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. We've had this on the show before, but again, we are dipping into our whiskey reserves this year. So
I know. I feel like we have so much of this. I have like a couple of these little bottles because they were on sale.
Mhm.
So having them in the reserve just to empty out whenever we're like,
Right.
what do
And
we
then
drink next?
right. And
Bulleit.
then people who know Loke, my friends know who have a podcast, they're always like, oh, let me get you a bottle of whiskey. And I was like, great. So it's like I can't get through it fast enough.
No, no.
So I just have to
I'm not
keep,
mad.
and they know what I like. So I was like, okay, yeah, excellent. Not upset about it.
No.
But Jacqueline,
Do
Jacqueline
you have ice
Bouvier,
molds?
Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, you know I do. And it's a good one today. It is. Okay. So in honor of the upcoming day, by the time this posts, what should be a national holiday, in my opinion, is May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So I
It's
have an
gonna
ice
be
mold
May.
that I have been saving for such an occasion. So it is, drum roll, please, the Death Star. And then it has a little,
Yes.
look at the
Is
little
it?
indentation.
Is
And
it pink?
it is the rose gold luster powder from Fancy Sprinkles that we were talking about. It is a pink Death Star.
That is stunning.
It is.
It is
This took
stunning. I
work to
can't
do.
wait to
It was
see.
tough. It's like it was really tough to make because like my mold wasn't exactly waterproof, so I had to tape it together. I did work on this ice mold because this ice mold was doing work on me. So
You put a lot of love and
I
care into
just
that ice
made
mold.
the one, but it will be linked in the show notes. It is. I have been dying to use this ice mold, and someone who's very like I want it now, daddy, so it's just like it was really, really hard to not use this ice mold like immediately. What have you got today?
I have a big square that
Big
I can't get out of my tumbler. So I've got to work on it.
just
It is stuck in there. I put it in there
to preserve
to
the
preserve the ice cube while we were going through show notes. And now it's just stuck in here. So I'm going to warm it
well,
up.
because
But
of the
here's what I
laws of
do know.
thermodynamics, it will come out eventually.
It will. Here's what I do know. When I get it out,
Mm-hmm.
it has 24 karat gold luster powder from Fancy Sprinkles
That is.
and
Mm-hmm.
a dash of the rose gold edible glitter
You know what
from
I
Fancy.
did as well? I added like from the top of the ice mold, I sprinkled in moonstone inside of it.
Stop
It
it,
is the ice
Simone.
mold that keeps on giving today.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so let's pop the cork on our Bulleit Tennessee whiskey or Kentucky. Forgive me, I'm so sorry. And clinky over the ice
They're
it goes.
close states. They're close states. They
They're
might be
fine.
twins. Like they're probably like brother and sister, you know what I'm saying?
They're neighbors.
Nabes.
Look at this, YouTube. Look at this.
Would you
Look at
come
this.
and look at this?
Look at this.
Look at this.
It is shimmery. It is sparkly. It is giving beautiful. Oh, your ice cube
Same.
came out. Yeah. This luster powder I'm really living for.
My whole heart and soul needs luster powder in whiskey every single time. I don't know what it is, but it just
Honestly,
looks like liquid gold. Like I
I
am
I know we
sipping
love
on
our
liquid gold.
I know we love our whiskey on this podcast, but I think I'm just more excited for the glitter that goes inside my whiskey all the time. Like,
Absolutely.
yes. Like the whiskey is the catalyst or the vessel to get like the glitter into me.
I almost took a drink before we said cheers.
Oh, I'm ready.
Clinkies. I'm so sorry.
Down the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Oh, that is refreshing after a long day of work. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
Shit, that's fresh.
Just I'm just gonna marinate. This is our happy hour, the happiest of hours. I really appreciate that we record this podcast in the afternoon / evening time. So I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, for real. Because
we
well, by the time we record it, I am just getting off work.
Yeah. We've had
So
a
it's
morning meeting with mimosas and it really got
morning.
the rest of the day.
The rest of the day was great. I was
Really
asleep
was.
by 8 p.m. that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, bank holiday Mondays for meetings. But yes, so we got our whiskey, our sipping whiskey, our sipping glitter. We're having it. Thank you, Fancy Sprinkles. Uh we
All
have
right.
a we have a we have a podcast today, Jackie.
We do. We have thoughts and opinions on the
Mhm.
pod today. Rachel, just you
Okay,
do the honors. You
I'm gonna do
explain
the
it.
honors. So today on the podcast, Whiskey Bent Spellbound, we are talking about a popular TikTok subject that has been on my algorithmic timeline. Tradwives.
Hmm.
So
I have seen the Tradwives TikToks, Tradwives versus Housewives, all of that jazz.
yes. So let's explain a little bit what we talk about Tradwives because we want everyone on the same page of what we're talking about. And
Mhm.
so we're all like right in the same mind. So let's describe it. This comes from Wikipedia directly. So according to Wikipedia, a tradwife is a slang term for a traditional housewife. And it typically denotes a woman who believes in and practices patriarchal roles and marriages. So the patriarchal housewife aesthetic has been spread throughout social media, featuring women extolling the virtues of behaving as submissive and the quote ideal woman, unquote. So that comes from Wikipedia. So how do you feel
It's
about that?
so it's so disturbing.
So
It is so
I
disturbing. That like whole description makes me just immediately think about how Handmaid's Tale could play out possibly. Like it makes it very like plausible when it's a fad. You know what I'm saying? Like it
yeah,
can get very
and
icky
I
very
want
quick.
to distinguish between a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife
Yeah.
and a trad wife. Those are two, in my mind, two separate things. Like a trad
Very,
wife is an aesthetic. So a trad wife lifestyle dictates that the trad wives prefer a division of labor within wherein their husband manages all the family finances and they focus on raising the children and managing the cooking and household chores. So it's just like maybe it's not 50-50, maybe they just have this aesthetic about them and they just want to be like the little wife that stays home. But I want to say before we go any further, this is very important for me to clarify. So I'm not shitting on anyone here. So as a proud feminist, as I am, I want to be
mhm.
crystal fucking clear. So if a woman chooses to stay home, work in the home instead and raise a family, I support her choice, whoever it is, 100%. So it's about giving women a choice if they can do what they want to do, not the patriarchy demanding that they stay home and raise children because they don't have any other options available to them. So a trad wife's ability to choose what she wants to do is a feminist success,
That's correct.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah. I can agree with that 100%. I
saying.
personally was a stay-at-home wife,
Mm-hmm.
stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home wife? That sounds like I'm somebody's property. I didn't like saying that. The way that came off out of my mouth felt very icky. So I was a stay-at-home mom
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years. And the reason why is because we didn't like the schools,
Mm-hmm.
the options for schools that we had. Um, they weren't great. They weren't in great neighborhoods. They didn't have a bus route. And then also, like, we were just like, we're only here for a couple of years. Like, why don't I just homeschool them.
So
It makes
this
the
is
most sense.
during your second marriage, and he
This is
was
during my second marriage, correct? Yeah, and we were stationed on a military base in the South.
okay.
But we didn't like no, we weren't stationed on a military base. We were stationed off base. We were stationed at the base, but we lived off base.
Yeah.
So where we lived off base, they didn't have that a lot of options. So I was just like, I'll stay home with them. And we looked at like the finances and like me having to work and then being in the after school program and how much all that costs. Like, and we added everything up, and I was like, it makes so much more sense because we're only going to be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
For me to stay home and homeschool. And maybe I can get them ahead a little bit if I homeschool them. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was really fun. Like, I loved homeschooling my kids. I thought like it was a really good opportunity to get to know them because I was spending all day with them out of like the only time I was able to spend all day with them was really during the summer. And only if I had those days off, you know, when I was working. So it was like I was able to get to know them like on a much deeper level, like how they learn, what their habits are during the day when they're not with me. So it was like a really cool bonding time. But on the other hand, I was also the person doing all the finances, right? So I didn't have like, we had to cut corners and things like that. So it was just like kind of like walking the fine line. I would never give up those 4 years of homeschooling my kids. I think it was so pivotal for us in our relationship. But I had a like the downside is that I had a gap in employment that I always have to explain anytime I'm going to a interview. You know, and that's like the downside because they always want to know, why do you have a gap in employment? Which in my opinion, it's like, mind your business.
Well, a gap in employment, it's also like, I guess the answer must be so similar all the time that it's like, maybe it's just taken for granted as a woman. It's like, I'm not going to ask whether there's a gap in employment. Like, we know the answer is always the same.
I sometimes I like I'm just like, maybe they want to know if I was like in jail.
I think the gap in employment would also be like, is there a job that you really don't want us to know about because it ended on poor terms? And like, are you?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's always the thing.
Like, did you rob the place?
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes, again, the difference between like Tradwives and a stay-at-home mom, you know?
Yeah.
So when we go talk more about Tradwives, it's just like, they're like, the man handles all of the finances. They handle all of, you know, and the wife stays home and like with all the kids and all the housekeeping and stuff. And so, and this is just, you know, again, it's a new term online, but a lot of them, you know, a lot of the Tradwives were like, oh, step one, pick a good man. This is very important in your Tradwife journey.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yeah, like it's not always that easy because it's like with your husbands, they changed, like your first husband, I think, or maybe, and your third one is like they changed immediately after you got married.
Yeah.
Like a switch.
Yeah, the first one changed immediately. As soon as I was married to him, he turned into a abusive monster.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I had never seen, I didn't think that was real.
Yeah. And then again, when you're talking about being a housewife, how you manage the finances, it's like in the Tradwife journey, they don't, it'll say, don't worry, pretty little head. I got it, sweetheart. And then they'll handle the finances. So they don't know how much debt they're in. They don't know, like, the cars aren't in their name. The house is in their name. Nothing is in their name. They have no resources or assets that they have accumulated during their time in the marriage.
This to me sounds like a prison. This to me sounds like trap. Like they are trapped. Right? Because they don't know what's going on financially with both of them. Like,
yeah, like, I don't know.
So pick a good man that you could trust doing that, and you don't get any part of it.
Yeah, like you build up their career and you don't get part of it. So also, but like since they quote unquote don't have jobs, you know, but a lot of these tradwives on social media have huge followings. This is why it is such a significant trend from what I see. So it's like, I mean, when I say a huge following, I mean like a couple million followers.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Which means they might have a staff, but also it means they're making money through the apps because of their content. And that means that they have a job. They have to work to keep that content up. They have to work to edit those videos. And they're making money outside of their husbands.
Yeah, but I wonder if they're able to make any financial decision with it or if it goes to the husband. Like, because if they're trad wives, typically like they would defer to the husband as well on even on their own salary.
Or it just will go into like that big
The
account.
family account and that he runs.
Oh, they get an allowance. Go do whatever you want, sweetheart. I'm not quite sure. So, like, and then a lot of these trad wives. Have you ever seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
No, but I keep getting told I should
Okay.
watch that show.
It's so good. It's on Amazon Prime, and I'm talking anyone who has seen it. It takes place in the 60s, and she is what we would think is like a trad wife. So,
Right.
but so like in the very, very first episode, you see her and her mom does this too, which is really funny. So you know exactly where like she learned it because her mom was a stay-at-home mom and wife as well. And so in like the Upper East Side, Manhattan. And so they've got a classic six on the Upper East Side, you know.
Oh,
And so she like they like go to bed and she has a full face of makeup on, and then like she could tell her husband is asleep, so then she wakes up and then like washes her face, takes off her eyelashes, put on the cold cream, do whatever, goes back to bed, lifts up the window so it'll like wake her up naturally with the sun before the alarm goes off. Then she like wakes up before her husband's, puts it all back on, takes the curlers out, puts on the eyelashes, she's effortlessly beautiful, gets back into bed, just these cascading curls. And then her husband, like, alarm goes off. And she's already put herself together for God knows how long that takes back in the day. And then he like wakes up and he's like, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I am the luckiest man in the world." Side note, she gets immediately cheated on.
nuh-uh.
Yeah, and then like it breaks up. But anyways, this is not about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But however, it was just like she is this trad wife and she cooks for him and everything. And then like
That's exactly what I imagine they look like. And I've seen on TikTok, there are some that are really extreme, like to the point where like her husband had a craving for chocolate brownies. And so she made them from scratch to the point where she was fermenting the cacao beans in her backyard, like straight up. I saw another girl make tortillas from like grinding up corn.
Yeah,
like in one of those stone things. It's calm down.
I don't have any problem with making healthy, wholesome food for your family or anything like that. But one, I don't want any mom on the go to feel shame because she doesn't feed her children or family like that. And then secondly, it's like, say that it's a cooking channel, like a cooking platform, like not that it's like this trad wife thing, because also it's like when it comes to that trad wife content of this, like, oh, my kids wanted cereal, so I baked the grain. It's like, okay, that's great. Totally great. That's great for you.
I did see that. I saw that one too. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But it's like, how long does that take to feed your family? And then can you prep that? But also, it's like, what other content are they showing? Do they show when their kids are having a meltdown? Do they show when their house is a mess? Do they show when they're doing the cleaning and the vacuuming? And do they show that? No, these kitchens are immaculate. No. Do they show the nitty-gritty of actually doing all of these household chores, or they're just being like, in my beautiful gourmet kitchen that my husband pays for, in my artisan stand mixer that costs $500, like I'm going to make, custom made cereal for my kids or cinnamon rolls. It's like, okay, but is that kid having a breakdown because breakfast is taking 2 hours? Because if I say I want cereal like within
Yesterday.
2 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
hungry now.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, how realistic is that content? And I do just want to reiterate that social media is not real life. And I'm also not shitting on anyone who's wearing a full face of makeup. I fucking love putting makeup on. I live for my cat eye. Like, I'm about it. But it was like, that is
We
not.
work from home and we still slap
I
on
still
makeup.
slay.
Like we will slap on a full face of makeup because we have one 15-minute Zoom meeting. I do not even care.
Absolutely.
We will do it. We put
But
our best face forward.
it's
We
also like, what if, okay, also we were talking about like, I got married at 21. I think you did too. And then I got married,
Yeah.
I got divorced, finalized at 35. Like who I was at 21 is not who I'm at 35. Like, are you going to stay with this trad wife aesthetic until the day you die? Like there's some women who do wear like vintage 50s, like petticoats, house skirt, and stuff. So
There's some who go all the way back to the 1800s and wear that.
yeah.
And they're not Amish.
Yeah. And
That's the thing.
It's really like, again, this aesthetic, but it's just more of like, what if you do want to wear some cute little pedal pusher pants and a wedge? Like, what if
And
you
a wedge.
wedge, like what if you grow out of this kind of aesthetic because trends change? Like, will your husband not like that? What if, because I felt I came into my own in my marriage. My ex-husband might disagree about that because I was just not as easily pushed over after a while, because I had a very successful business that he didn't really like after a while. But like
because
supported me while I was little, but as I got bigger and more successful, he didn't like it, So it's more of like, what if you grow into a different type of person? What then? Like,
not what
are
if,
you gonna
it's
stay
what is going to happen when you grow into a different type of person, because we live through each decade where we change into a different person.
Yeah.
Like if any 40-year-old woman will tell you that every single decade they changed in some sort of way in which they knew themselves so much more intimately. They step more into their own, they put up with less shit, you know what I'm saying? And I think it happens like on a decades basis.
And
especially like you become a new person.
And the trends I'm seeing are these like young 20 something like Tradwives.
Yeah, every time.
And it's very much like, no one goes into their first marriage thinking that will end. We're all very young, very doe-eyed at the time, thinking all you need is love, which
so hopeful.
When you grow a little older, that's not always the case,
Right.
So it's really like, oh no, so I don't know. It's just like the whole point is to change as you grow and develop and like evolve as a human being. So it's just like, what if, like, I was just right out of the church when I got married. And so I literally was like, oh yeah, baby, whatever you want. I literally was like, it is my job and his career, is what I told him. Can you believe it? Those words came out of my mouth to my.
Yeah, I can, because I was an Army spouse as well.
Yeah. But this is before my husband ever had joined the Navy. I was like, oh yeah, what, like, because I was shown like it is church when I was like 22, because we were married 6 years before we ever joined the Navy. But it's still like, it's my job and your career. So I'll just make some money because we need to, but it's what you want, So that was like, it does have its own challenges, but also like, it's very like, I struggle with like Tradwives because I was like, but again, it's just more of like, you act like you don't have a job, but you do have a job. You're not showing the everyday like difference between housewives and Tradwives and stay-at-home moms.
Yeah, you take a big risk because of that.
Yeah.
Like you take a huge risk because like, ma'am, what what happens? What happens when he falls out of love with you? If he falls out of love with you, or he cheats on you and you can't handle that, you can't accept it the way he thinks you should accept it. What happens to you because you haven't been earning money this entire time?
Yes, because there is no shortage of men with microphones with podcasts on the internet saying that they are genetically disposed to cheating.
Yep.
Beyonce got cheated on. Jeffrey Aniston got cheated on. Like, a lot of people get cheated on. And I'm not saying that their husbands will cheat on them. I'm not saying that. But the possibility is there because also I'm sure a lot of content that those men are listening to are, we're the head of the household. We get to do whatever we want. We are the providers.
And speaking of that content, because I think there's a direct correlation between that type of content and the rise of conservatism in young boys in America.
I think so too, because it really comes to stripping our rights away.
Yeah.
Like trying to repeal women's suffrage in the 19th Amendment and our right to vote, and lessening our rights, which maybe get
It's so
into
crazy
in just a bit. But also, like, I just want to be like, a man is not a plan. If your name is not on everything, it's really challenging because it's not even in 20 years you're divorced. What if he dies? What if you have a happy and he dies? Like, I would just want to say, like, my personal story is my mom was widowed at 45 years old after 26 years of marriage. So my dad dropped dead of a heart attack at 48. This is very young. We are in that. I am dating a man now that is older than my father, because it's like,
oh my gosh,
because my dad stopped aging at 48 years old, so it's like it can just randomly happen. He was not ill. He just died. And so like, it's not always divorce. It's just life happens. And it does happen because it happened to me. It happened to my family. So it's like, it's not always divorce. It's just shit, life happens. Like, what is your plan for that? If, like, how are you going to provide for your family? And so it's like, my mom had to figure it out. My mom worked. So she had a job. She didn't have to like go back into the workforce or anything, but it's like she could, after the main breadwinner in my home died suddenly, she could still economically support herself and me since I was still a child.
Yeah.
Like, she like didn't have to scramble, which was really like,
thank God,
to keep my
most
life,
of these
our
girls are
life
setting
as stable as it could be when everything else is now unstable,
Yeah. Well, most of these girls are setting themselves up for failure by not working.
To putting all your faith in one person when at best it should be a team,
Yeah.
So
I just heard, I just watched a TikTok about a girl whose boyfriend, like they were just living together. They weren't even married. They have a child together, 2 years old. He got arrested. She hasn't been working. She's been a tradwife this entire time, and he got arrested for money laundering. And now she's like on social media asking for financial help.
Yeah.
So it's like the craziest things can happen. They could die. They could get arrested.
That happened to you.
Leave you. They could cheat on you. They could beat you.
In my marriage, I was like, in my mind, I was like, I'll never leave my husband because I was nothing financially without him.
Dang.
And it's like again, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, I'm nothing financially without him. And so I was like,
You'll stick it out.
He's a pretty decent human being. I very much like him when he is at his best, not in Navy special warfare. Like, bowing
Yeah,
down
when he
to
was normal.
patriarchy. Yeah. So when he was like a person, normal human being. So I was like, I had faith in who he was. But then one day he came home and he was like, I don't want to be married to you anymore, and moved out and was just waiting to tell me. So I had come home and he had just already moved out.
Yeah,
He had already
they
made
could
the
do
decision.
that.
So it's like you had just made this decision. And now when I was like, I am nothing financially without this man, my safety, my
Yeah.
economic safety is wrapped up in this person. And then they decide to leave. It's like, yeah, I
It's
was
like, now what? Now
thrown
what
out
if
on
you haven't been working?
my ass with his career and my job that I make move around to help support him, my mobile career. And then it's like, I'm the one on Medicaid. I'm the one
Yeah.
food stamps. I'm
Yeah.
the one living in my sister's basement,
Yep.
you know? And it's just like,
Damn.
and I worked. I wasn't like a stay at
No,
home
but you
thing.
put his career first. I did that for a very long time as well.
I did.
Put
Yeah.
my ex-husband's career first.
And then we
But
don't
I
have anything to show for it.
enjoyed being a wife. Like I loved it so much. And then
Mhm.
he was ripped out of our lives by a SWAT team. And
Yeah.
then I had to like really hold it together. Like I can't imagine if I was staying at home and wasn't working, I can't imagine how much worse the struggle would have been,
Yeah.
because it could have been much worse. So like anything can happen. Like we've given those examples. You might find yourself completely unhappy with the lifestyle and him expecting you
Yeah.
to do
What if
it.
you don't want to make him a sandwich? What if you're all
Can't.
sandwiched out? Yeah.
You've run out of sandwich recipes. Just get a prenup. That's
So
like, I'm not going to ever judge you for being a trad wife, but get a prenup.
one, I was like, be honest with the daily struggles with what happens, because social media is not real life. But also,
No.
like, my biggest thing is like, for your next marriage, like, get a prenup. You can put whatever you want in there. If he cheats,
Yep.
you could put clauses where if like he cheats on you, he has to pay you. Like, you could put whatever you want in there. And like a prenup is just to protect your assets as you go into this marriage, and what you
Yeah.
agree that is yours and not yours. So it's like, I would say for anyone, stay at home moms, and you can get a post nup as well. Like you can agree to whatever you want to within the confines of your marriage. But I would say
Yeah,
like,
you can put that paperwork, you can make that official anytime.
but I'm going to say like household labor is work. And I don't think that anyone who says, "Oh, my wife stays home, she stays home with the kids," I was like, she doesn't work. I was like, that you are devaluing the work that primary
Oh,
caregiver to
okay.
your children is doing to act like
She's
she
not
can do
she's
anything.
not being a personal chef at home. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
She's not being a
She's
nurse.
she's not taking care of everything, so you can go and do more things at your career and stay late and climb the ladder and be better, and XYZ. And this is more for like quote unquote traditional households where like the man works, but we're talking like that trad wife who wants the husband to do that. But also when you have a so if you're going to stay out of the workforce like you did for 4 years, where everyone
Mhm.
questions, well, why didn't you work? You're now behind. You're nearly half a decade behind where you would
Yep.
be.
With my experience, I had less experience than some people, you know what I'm saying, for
Yes.
just those 4 years
So
when I
you
could have
can
been
get
developing
lower
skills.
level jobs that you wouldn't necessarily be. And
Correct.
a lot of like maybe some tradwives like have a college degree, but they've been out of the workforce for maybe 20 years at that point, 30 years. It's like, what can you do? Your degree isn't even worth anything anymore because you don't have any
Exactly.
like marketable skills from when you originally got that education. So it's like you have education, but like what ongoing skills do you have to move forward
Yeah.
with? And I'm not saying household management is not, but it's like if you don't have any work history, that is very challenging, you know.
It is. It
That
is.
to maintain your quality of life. So it was like one, my takeaways are this, it's like, make sure that your name is on everything.
Get a
Every
prenup.
single car, every single house, everything that you have that is shared property during your marriage is put your name on it. Put your name on it. You own businesses, put your name on it. So like, if it is something that you have accumulated in your marriage, put your name on it. Make sure your name is on it. And that you guys should also be having like financial meetings, like homework meetings, to be like, where are we? So you're not left out in the cold when you realize someone is laundering money and you don't,
For real.
and you have to ask for money from strangers on the internet, or you're just like, oh, okay, like no problem. Or what if your husband is having an affair and hiding that money?
Yeah, if you're not looking at these credit card statements, he could be using those
You should
to
be
make
doing financial
cocktail
checkups in your relationship, absolutely. But also
reservations.
for that in-home labor, that work that you are doing, I would say, like, if he's going to ask you to stay home and make all the money, then he should pay you for all the work that you do within the home. And it should be in an account that he does not have access to, that you only have access to, because he is going to pay you for the work that you contribute to the home. If he what does a personal chef cost? What does a housekeeper cost?
They can't afford it.
What does full-time childcare? What does a live-in nanny cost? And he wants to keep you out of the workforce, then he needs to pay you weekly. And then you can put that in an account.
Or if you're going to stay out of the workforce by choice, make sure you have some kind of income.
Yeah. That's just
Something.
yours to say, hey, this work is acknowledged. I'm supporting us as well. And I have something to show for it.
Yeah.
And that my work is valued. Because domestic labor is
the worst.
It's a
such
lot
a
of
pain
work.
in the ass.
Yeah.
It is such a pain in the ass. No, some of these girls, I'm telling you, the ones that I've seen either are extreme. They look like they're married to wealthy men. And this is just like what they do in their spare time. And they're making it look all like rosy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But then I've seen some that are like super traditional. They don't wake up with the full face of makeup. They've gone even further.
It's like
they don't wear
pioneer.
makeup. They're very pioneer. Like they live out on a farm and are like, this is how they're not Mennonites. They're not Amish. They're not any of those. They've just chosen to live like very primitively. And like, she's just like, my husband takes care of everything. She's very soft spoken. It almost doesn't real.
Tradwives
Like,
also always
like that?
Also have a very like low, soft spoken, like baby voice. But I think like what is it, Ballerina Farms? Like she's married to the owner of JetBlue. They're millionaires. And I was like, why are you living on a farm? Again, if that's what she wants to do, by all means, but don't act like that is the life that you have to live. Because it's being untruthful.
She's being untruthful by I think portraying her life that way.
Yeah. But
I didn't know that. You just told me that was just news. What? Like seriously.
I've done my research on the Tradwife trend. But again, like I think I struggle because these seems to be more cooking related platforms than just say you're a scratch kitchen. Go out on your farm and go get your eggs right from the chicken. Great. Awesome. Yes.
Wow.
No.
Are you using, have you read some of the comment sections? Cause like they're hilarious.
No.
One girl, the girl who made the brownies, somebody commented, wow, store-bought butter.
Yeah. You didn't.
I am offended. You didn't churn that?
Your own yeast. Yeah. Yeast? Oh no.
How did you make that stove? How did you smelt that metal? Like they went real like weird, but still,
Yeah.
it's just they should make them cooking channels, not like
That's the
this
thing.
is what it's like, because it is not like that.
Because they're not showing everything.
No.
They're not showing it all. I'm like, are you showing how your husband ignores your children because you wanted to live like Mad Men? Are you showing that? No.
Who sees Mad Men? See who sees what that redhead puts up with and is like, yes.
I've watched all of Mad. I love Mad Men. I told my mom to watch it, and she watched, I think, a couple of episodes in the first season. She's like, I had to stop. It made me so mad because she lived through it.
Yeah, I had to stop.
Yeah.
I had to stop because I got so mad.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't handle it. It was sending me into an absolute rage.
Yeah. And it's realistic. So yeah.
My mom said the same thing. That's exactly what it was like.
You guys watch Mad Men. It is very good and worth all the acclaim. But just like, I don't know, watch it when you're working out, like on the treadmill or something, because I'm like, you gotta work it. You gotta
Ooh,
work out the anxiety.
use the
Use
rage.
the rage. Yeah.
Genius, Rachel.
That's how I do. I was like, I gotta get this out while I'm like watching it because it's worth the watch. And the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But it's like when we watch stuff from the 60s, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But
Literally.
no, episode 1 of Mad Men, Peggy goes to get on birth control because it's just the pill has hit the market. And he says, because she's not married and they only used to give it to married women for
Yep.
family control. He was like, her male gynecologist was like, don't be a slut now that you have this.
Wow.
And I was like, she's like, no, sir, no, sir.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
That's exactly why we're going to ask for birth
That's why
control.
I'm here. I
Because she was
would
a
like to be a
young lady.
whore.
She was a young lady living in the big city, you know? So,
Jesus.
yeah, I can see why it makes me mad. So again, Tradwives, they want to go back to this, but I just say nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
It is. Gives you a false
But I think
narrative.
it can be because again, we see things like Leave It to Beaver, like all these kind of like stay-at-home moms. I'm like, even women of that decade will tell you it wasn't like that.
No,
Like,
it wasn't. My grandmother was having babies in the 50s. Like all of her babies were born in the 50s. Her last baby was born in 53. So like, oh, she started in 48 actually. 48 to 53 is when she was having babies.
yeah.
And my grandfather was the absolute worst. Like she had to stay home for the most part. And then when her babies were a little bit older, she did get to work, but it's not get to, she had to, because my grandfather was an alcoholic and he would go to work and he would get too drunk to work. So they'd send him home.
Yes. And so it is like, oh, pick a good man.
That
And it's just
when
like,
I heard you say that, I was like,
it's not always that easy.
yeah, we'd love to. I tried.
Mm-hmm.
Second time, I totally tried.
Yeah.
And I loved being a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it was detrimental, and as was the entire marriage, because I thought I picked a good man. But also, sometimes men are monsters and turn into other people that like you don't know. Like, be careful with who you're picking to become that trad wife.
And I think and again, we just talk about like this trad wife trend, very different than stay-at-home moms, but
Yeah.
I'd also see a lot of divorced stay-at-home moms
So do I.
on talking about the trad wife trend. And it's like, I see a lot of moms are like, there is not anything that I would ever give up. Like, I loved have that time with my children. I was like,
Yep.
yes. They're like, but it cost me dearly.
Yep.
And it was really hard going through my divorce when my name wasn't on anything, when he could hide assets, when I had nothing to show for it. And I had to go get an entry-level job when I have no skills. And I can't, and it's just like, that's when, because it happened to me. That's when we go on food stamps. That's when we go on public assistance. That's when we go and live out of our cars.
Yeah.
Thank
God you
because
didn't have kids Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah. Thank God. I am so thankful I never had children. Because I
Because
don't,
that would have been really hard.
yeah.
It would have been even worse.
Mm-hmm. I went through it.
God.
But yeah, so it's always just like, but again, in my marriage, like my name was on everything. It wasn't like that. But I was like, I
Yeah.
am nothing financially without
There's,
as I
yeah.
supported him. You know, if he learned another language, he could have gotten like you get like a raise in the military in special warfare.
Yeah.
Guess who was learning Russian and he wasn't, like,
You were.
to support him so I could like support his career.
It's always us. I know too much about rigging up a helicopter.
I'm
Like,
sure.
same. Like,
Yeah,
why
and
do
then
I
it
know
gets
that
us
stupid
nowhere.
shit? It gets
Learning Cyrillic now in my job when I have to read stuff about Roscosmos and stuff, I was like, I know what that says. It does benefit me now to understand and like
because you can
repeal
read a
the-
little bit of Russian.
yeah.
That's what the language is called, Cyrillic.
Yeah, that's the Russian alphabet is
That's
Cyrillic.
it. That's a pretty word. I like it.
It smells so pretty. Yes. So benefit sometimes, but it's just like out of the two of us, why am I the one learning this to support
Yeah.
you? And then it gets thrown
Yeah.
in your face and stuff. So anyhow, so Tradwives, I was like, just show the real thing. Show the real thing and call it a cooking channel. That's all I'm saying. Show the kids breaking down. Show the diaper blowouts. Show the crumbs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Show the not pretty parts if you're going to show it. That's all I'm saying. But again,
Show the conversation about financial decisions with your husband.
yeah,
Because there's not going to be one.
it's
Try to
hard.
bring it up. I want to see what happens.
It's hard
That's
to blind trust.
my vote. I
'Cause
could
we
not.
are just
I'm sorry. It sounds like a trap, dude.
because
It does. It
the
just
divorce
sounds like
previous Tradwives are like, I wish I knew. I wish I. There's no like super happy divorced Tradwives that are just like, I have nothing to show for it. Yeah, I raised my kids, but like, I
and
I
most of them are
claiming
like
because I had
raising my kid.
my name was
Raising
on
my
them.
kid. God dang it.
Sorry,
We keep talking at the same time.
sorry.
Both of us are so ADHD. No, but I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Sorry, listeners. Yeah, it's like we just get the points out. But those are really great takeaways. Just like put your name on everything and go get a prenup, postnup, and like make them pay you for the work that you do.
That's the thing. They're not gonna. If you see this, if you see these accounts, just know it's not all fucking roses and sunshine. They really think about it before you dive headfirst into one of those types of marriages. Like, oh,
And I am happy that they got to choose.
for sure.
That's like my feminist heart of hearts. I'm glad that you got to choose that for yourself. And no one told you what you had to do.
And also be careful.
Very true. Protect yourself. Oh, Jaki, excellent whiskey bending today. I see you've got those cards.
I do.
You do, you do, you do.
I do. Charged them under the pink moon.
Ooh.
Pink moon was last night for your birthday month, a pink moon. I love that for you.
I love that for me as well. Well, it's no moon, it's a space station. Was very pink today.
Oh no, for real?
Well, it's the Death Star.
That the Death
Throw
Star.
back to the beginning of the podcast.
I love it. I love the Death Star.
It's good. It's good. It's the best ice mold yet.
Probably one of my favorites.
It's still kicking. Like it is a dense ice mold.
I have a grenade one that I just can't get to take. It's really annoying.
That'd be so good. I gotta break out the snakes again.
Oh, I love the
We
snakes.
love the cobras.
Obsessed.
Obsessed with the cobras.
The cobras are great every single time. They work
Mm.
every single time. Ooh.
Ooh.
All right.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this reading. Knock 3 times.
Okay. So the first card, bear with me, I gotta look it up.
This is still Murder of Crows Tarot.
It is still Murder of Crows. I love Murder of Crows. Let's see.
I feel like I've got my Tradwife hairstyle on today. Maybe the whiskey's just talking at this point.
I have a 70s hairstyle. I feel like now it feels
Headband.
very much like a feather. You know what I'm saying? Which that's when we were really fighting the man. So
Yes, because only in 1974, 50 years ago, did women equal credit act happen, and we could have a credit card without a husband's or a father's name on it.
My mom burnt her bra, like in an actual protest in Los Angeles. Diane burnt her bra.
Diane.
Is anybody surprised?
I like
Diane.
I can't wait to meet her again.
Oh, she's the best.
Diane. All right. What is
So the first one is the moon.
Oh, is it upside down?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's about misinterpretation.
That's very timely for this episode today.
Right. It's just about confusion and like there's kind of not really an understanding around what you take to be true. Okay.
A misunderstanding for what you take to be true.
Yeah. We were like talking about how Tradwives seem to be disillusioned by the nostalgia. Nostalgia's a drug.
And I would take that as like what I don't know, as like social media is always the highlight reel, never the behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a very good card for today.
This is the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands has a lot to do with like accomplishment, burden, responsibility is what it's saying. But I think it has a lot to do with like responsibility that you create for yourself, like being overburdened. Ooh.
Like creating cereal from
Like
pestle and mortared bran flavor.
yeah. Like calm down. Stop making brownies from straight from cacao seeds. Just call it a cooking channel.
Yeah.
But no, but like you're taking on so much responsibility. You're taking on more than you think, like as far as being a trad wife. You're also giving up a lot of responsibility, I think.
But at what?
At what cost? Like you're giving up a part of your life that you need to have at least some kind of control of if you're going to be able to survive without this person, because they're not going to be there forever. So like I just feel like this is like Tradwife becomes like you're giving yourself like such a heavy burden. You're just, stop it, because it's not that fucking great, basically. It sucks. And then the last one is 7 card, which is another cardinal card. And that's the Chariot. And that has a lot to do with moving forward. Like forward momentum, true, like victory, movement, exerting control. Right. So seems to me like the cards are like, you're addicted to the nostalgia if
Mhm.
you're really considering being a trad wife, or you are one.
Yeah.
It's not real. You're actually creating this huge burden for yourself. And but going backwards is the mistake. Going backwards for us in our what is it, like being a feminist, being, in our stuff. I don't know how to describe it. Do you know what I'm saying, Rachel? Do you know what I'm trying to get out?
I'm not picking
Like,
up.
going backwards is wrong. It's creating an even bigger burden to going forward. We're regressing, and it's creating such a huge burden on us. We have to keep moving forward. We can't just allow ourselves to like be stuck. And like, this guy right here seems like he's super heavy on the card. It's a one guy carrying another guy.
Mhm.
This seems like the burden of like that women carry all the
Carrying the
time.
burden of your family. Not that your family's a burden, but it's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy being a stay-at-home mom, or even if you're a traditional wife. All
Mhm.
of those things are a very, very heavy burden. We have to rethink that because it seems misplaced. We
Yeah.
have to keep moving forward.
Mhm.
This trad wife thing is not the answer. We have to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Because I was like, let's talk partnerships,
Yeah,
like
that's
equality.
that's what it should be. A relationship should always be a partnership. Always.
Yeah. It's
And
nice
then
that they can choose
I
to give some of their autonomy up,
Mhm.
but the fact that's like they have the choice to do that. I was like, okay, that's
Yeah. And the card that jumped out
bone.
was the High Priestess. And I
Okay.
saw her immediately. We get her a lot, which I
I see
love.
her. Mm-hmm.
Intuition, your inner voice. I think this is just a reminder to those thinking that they're in those roles to like listen to your inner voice. You're so much more powerful than you think you are. You don't have to give up your power. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure you hold on to as much of it as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I love when people step into their power. I'm like, yes, queen.
Yes, queen. No, you have it. Don't be
You
afraid
have
to
to
step
give it up.
into it. That
You can
kind of
have
thing.
both.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Oh, Jaki, fantastic episode. Oh, I had thoughts on this one.
You had pages of thoughts. It
Pages
made me
of
very nervous. I was like, oh my God.
I wrote those in 15 minutes before the podcast. Like it was on
Just
top.
thought after thought after
Yeah.
thought after thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, are you guys ready for our next episode? We're going to be talking about financial independence on our next show.
That's going to
Yeah.
be a fun one.
Tips, tricks, options, what to do. Absolutely.
How to
So,
do it, where to start.
financial autonomy and independence is very important as in a relationship as well as a single person. We talk to both people, so we're here about it. So join us next week for that episode, and then also join us over on Patreon, where you'll get the After Dark sizzle reel where the drinks really flow, for Chonies, Chonkless, and Chisme, where we just get into the chisme of our lives. Join us over on Patreon. You can get everything ad-free, and early release as well. So support us over there because we love making extra bonus content for you guys, and we love our growing community. Thank you so much. And it's $3.95 a month plus tax, and link is in the show notes below. But Jaki, I will meet you over on Patreon right now. But until then, thank you for another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent
Spellbound with Black
and Whitefield.
Clinkies.
Love.
Love you. Bye.